Nkechi wanted to be the most beautiful girl in the village, but that night, the river would show her that vanity has a price no one survives. Many years ago, in a quiet village called Umwaka, there lived a girl whose beauty people spoke about in hushed voices, as if saying her name too loudly might offend the spirits. Her name was Nkechi. From the time she was a young girl, it was clear she was not like the others. While other children played freely in the dust, laughed loudly, and returned home with sweat on their faces, Nkechi moved differently. Even as a child, she carried herself with a strange awareness, like someone who already knew she was being watched. And she was. As she grew older, her beauty did not just blossom, it overwhelmed. Her skin shone under the sun like polished bronze. Her eyes held a quiet fire, and her presence alone was enough to silence a crowd. Men turned their heads when she passed. Women adjusted their wrappers and straightened their posture. And the other girls, they watched her with a mix of admiration and something they did not like to admit: envy. But beauty, when praised too often, can grow something else. It can grow teeth. As the years passed, Nkechi began to change, not in her face, but in her heart. Compliments no longer made her smile. They became something she expected. Greetings from other girls became something she barely acknowledged. When elders spoke about humility, about the dangers of pride, Nkechi would bow her head respectfully, but inside she did not listen. In her mind, those warnings were for other people, not for someone like her. She believed her beauty was her power, and as long as she had it, she believed she would always stand above the rest. No one could replace her. No one could come close. But one morning, the village woke up to a story that would shake everything she believed. It started with whispers, soft, urgent, uncertain. At the market square, women abandoned their bargaining mid-sentence. At the well, young girls gathered closer than usual, their voices trembling with excitement and fear. Even the elders, who rarely entertained gossip, leaned in to listen. "It cannot be true," one said. "No one goes there and returns the same," another replied in a hushed tone. "But I saw her with my own eyes this morning." Nkechi heard the murmurs and she stepped out of her father's compound, expecting, as always, for the attention to fall on her. But something was wrong. No one was looking at her. Not even the boys who usually stumbled over their words when she passed. Their eyes were fixed somewhere else. And for the first time in her life, Nkechi felt invisible. Her steps slowed. Her chest tightened. Then she followed their gaze, and what she saw made her heart drop. The girl stood quietly among them. The same girl they used to laugh at. The same girl no one noticed. But now there was nothing ordinary about her. Her skin glowed with an unnatural softness. Her face was flawless, almost too perfect, like something shaped by unseen hands. And the way people stared at her, it was the same way they used to stare at Nkechi. Only this time, the attention did not belong to her. A cold realization settled in her chest. The river. The forbidden river of Mami Wata, the same river the elders warned about, the one no one dared to approach at night. The girl had gone there, and somehow she had returned, more beautiful than Nkechi. But what made it worse was what people were saying about the girl. Because just days before, no one even looked at her twice. Her name was Ada, and in that same village, she was the one people laughed at. Not quietly, openly. Children mocked her, women whispered about her, even men avoided her like she didn't exist. If beauty was a crown, Ada had never worn it for a single day of her life. But one night, everything changed. They said she walked to the forbidden river. At night, alone, the same river the elders warned about, the river of Mami Wata. No one followed her, no one believed she would return, but the next morning, Ada came back, and when people saw her, they froze because the girl they used to laugh at was gone, and in her place stood someone so beautiful it didn't look natural. The thought burned, slowly at first, then all at once. Something dark rose inside her, something sharper than pride: jealousy. Her fingers curled tightly at her sides as she stared at the girl, her jaw hardening. The whispers around her grew louder, but she no longer heard them clearly. Her mind had already begun to form a dangerous thought. If the river can make her this beautiful, then what will it make me? And in that moment, Nkechi made a decision that no one in that village would ever forget. At first, Nkechi said nothing. She just stood there watching the way people circled around Ada, watching the way their eyes widened, the way their voices softened, the way admiration flowed so easily towards someone who just days ago meant nothing to them. It didn't make sense. It shouldn't be happening, but it was. And the more she looked, the tighter her chest became, because no matter how much she tried to deny it, the truth was right in front of her. Ada was now more beautiful than her. Not just equal, more.
A sharp smile appeared on someone's face nearby. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" a woman whispered. "It's the river," another replied quickly. "It has to be." "Then, maybe," a third voice added, lowering her tone, "maybe the stories are true." Nkechi's fingers curled slowly at her sides. The river, again. Everywhere she turned, that was all she heard. The river gave her beauty, the river changed her life, the river chose her. Chose her. That word burned. Since when did the river start choosing people? And why her? Nkechi turned away sharply, her jaw tightening. She refused to stand there any longer, listening to people praise someone who, in her mind, did not deserve it. Her steps were quick now, almost angry as she made her way back toward her compound. But even as she walked, the voices followed her. The whispers, the excitement, the admiration. It clung to her like smoke. By the time she reached home, her calm was gone. She entered her room and shut the door harder than she intended. The small space suddenly felt too tight, too quiet. She paced once, twice, then stopped in front of the small mirror hanging on the wall. For a long moment, she just stared at her reflection. The same face she had known all her life. The same beauty that once made people stop and stare. But now, something felt different. Not in her face, in her mind, because for the first time, it didn't feel enough. Her lips pressed together. "No," she whispered under her breath. "This is not right." Her voice grew firmer. "I am still the most beautiful." But even as she said it, something inside her disagreed, and that was what she could not stand. That night, the village was quieter than usual. The excitement of the morning had settled into uneasy silence. Doors were shut earlier, fires burned lower, and from one compound to another, the same warning was repeated in hushed voices. No one should go near that river. But inside her room, Nkechi was awake. Her eyes were open, staring into the darkness. She had tried to sleep. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ada's face. That glow, that unnatural perfection, that attention. And then the thought came again, stronger this time, clearer. If the river could do that for her, then what will it do for me? Nkechi sat up slowly. Her heart began to beat faster, not with fear, but with something else. Desire. Not just to be beautiful, but to be unmatched, untouchable, unforgettable. A small voice in her mind tried to speak. It reminded her of the elders, of their warnings, of the stories whispered at night. But she pushed it away, completely. "I am not like her," she muttered quietly. "I am already beautiful." Her eyes hardened. "I just need more." The decision settled into her chest like stone. Heavy. Final.
There was no hesitation now, no doubt, only action. She stood up, slowly, quietly, carefully. The room felt colder as she wrapped a cloth around herself. She moved toward the door, her steps soft against the ground, pausing only once, just once, as her hand touched the wooden frame. Something in the air felt strange, like a warning, like something unseen was watching, waiting. Her fingers tightened. Then she opened the door. Outside, the night greeted her with silence. The moon hung full in the sky, casting a pale glow over the village. Shadows stretched long across the ground, and the familiar paths she had walked all her life suddenly felt different, unfamiliar, distant. But Nkechi did not turn back. She stepped forward, one step, then another, each movement pulling her farther away from everything she knew and closer to something she did not understand. The wind shifted slightly, brushing against her skin. Cold, unnatural. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, then suddenly stopped. Nkechi paused for a brief second, her heart skipping. Then she shook her head. "No," she whispered. "I've come too far." And with that, she continued walking toward the river, toward the darkness, toward a decision that would change her life forever. But what Nkechi did not know was that the river was already waiting for her. The closer Nkechi got to the river, the quieter the world became. Even the sound of her footsteps seemed to disappear. The night air grew heavy, pressing gently against her skin, as if something unseen was aware of her presence and watching. The familiar path she had walked many times during the day now felt longer, darker, wrong. Trees stood still like silent witnesses. Not a single insect chirped, not a single leaf moved. It was as if the world itself had stepped aside, leaving only her and whatever waited ahead. Then she saw it, the river. But it did not look the way she remembered. Under the full moon, the water shimmered with a strange, unnatural light, soft, silver, almost alive. It did not flow the way a normal river should. It glowed, it breathed. The surface rippled slowly, as if something beneath it was shifting, watching, waiting. Nkechi's steps slowed. For the first time since she left her house, doubt touched her. But only for a moment. Her jaw tightened. She stepped closer. "I know you are here," she said, her voice steady, but not as strong as she wanted it to be. The river did not respond. The silence stretched, thick, uncomfortable. Then the water moved, not from the wind, not from anything she could see. It parted slowly, deliberately, and Nkechi froze. Something was rising. At first, it was only light, soft and glowing beneath the surface. Then it grew brighter, clearer, until it began to take shape. A figure, elegant, graceful, beautiful, too beautiful. Mami Wata.
She emerged from the water like something that did not belong to the human world. Her skin shimmered like moonlight dancing on waves. Her long hair flowed effortlessly, as if it had its own life. And her eyes glowed. Calm, knowing, dangerous. Nkechi's breath caught in her throat, but she did not step back. She couldn't. "You came," the voice said. It did not come from Mami Wata's lips. It echoed around her, inside her, soft but powerful enough to silence every other thought. Nkechi swallowed. "I know what you can do," she said, forcing her voice to stay firm. "I have seen it." A faint smile touched Mami Wata's face. "Have you?" the voice replied gently. The water around her rippled, and suddenly, Nkechi saw it. Images, clear, alive. Ada, standing in the village. admired, desired, envied. Then another image, more powerful, Nkechi herself, but different, more radiant, more beautiful than anything she had ever imagined. People gathered around her, whispering in awe. Men bowing their heads, women stepping aside. No competition, no equal, only her. The vision felt real, too real. Her heart began to race. This, Nkechi whispered, her eyes locked on the illusion. This is what I want. The smile on Mami Wata's face deepened. Of course you do, the voice said softly. The water shifted again. The images grew stronger, richer. Now there was more than beauty, wealth, power, influence. Everywhere Nkechi turned, people praised her, feared her, admired her. You can have it, the voice continued. Nkechi's breath quickened. Yes, she said immediately. Yes, I want it. The air grew colder, heavier. Mami Wata's glowing eyes remained fixed on her. But tell me, the voice asked, softer now, deeper. Why? The question lingered, simple but heavy. Nkechi didn't hesitate. So no one will ever stand above me again. So I will always be the most beautiful. So everyone will know my worth. The river went still, completely still. For a brief moment, nothing moved, nothing breathed. Then Mami Wata's expression changed. Not anger, not surprise. Something else. Disappointment. The glow in her eyes dimmed slightly. And if someone else suffers because of your desire, the voice asked. Nkechi frowned. I don't care, she said quickly. I deserve it. Silence. Deep. Unforgiving. Then slowly, Mami Wata began to move closer. Closer than before. The water followed her, rising slightly with each movement. You believe beauty is power, Nkechi nodded. You believe it makes you greater than others. Yes. You believe you deserve more than them. Yes. Each answer came faster, stronger, certain, and with every word, the air grew heavier. The glow around the river dimmed. The beauty of the moment began to shift into something darker. But Nkechi did not see it. She was too focused on what she thought she was about to gain.
Mami Wata stopped directly in front of her, close enough now that Nkechi could feel the cold radiating from her skin. Then take it, the voice said. The water rose suddenly, fast, wrapping around Nkechi's feet, her legs, her waist. She gasped, but she did not pull away. Not yet. She thought this was part of it, part of the transformation, part of becoming more. The water climbed higher, her chest, her shoulders, her neck, and then everything changed. The warmth she expected never came, only cold, sharp, biting. Pain shot through her body, sudden, violent. Nkechi screamed, What is happening? The illusions shattered instantly, gone, replaced by darkness. The water tightened around her like chains. You asked for more, the voice echoed. No longer soft, now powerful, unyielding. But your heart, it continued, is full of pride. Nkechi struggled, panic rising. No, I didn't mean... But her words broke into a scream. Her skin burned, twisted, changed. She could feel it. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. You came not with humility, the voice thundered, but with vanity. The water surged. Her reflection flashed before her eyes, and Nkechi froze. Her face was no longer the same. It was distorted, twisted. The beauty she had held so tightly, gone, replaced with something that reflected everything she had become inside. Ugly, broken, unrecognizable. No,
she whispered, her voice shaking. No, no! The water released her suddenly. She collapsed onto the ground, gasping, trembling, her hands rushing to her face in disbelief. Behind her, the river calmed, as if nothing had happened, but the voice remained, cold, final. Beauty given without humility, it said, becomes a curse. Silence fell again, heavy, endless. Nkechi did not move. She couldn't, because in that moment, she finally understood. But it was too late. For a long time, Nkechi did not move. She just sat there on the cold ground, her body trembling, her breath uneven, her hands still pressed against her face as if she could undo what had been done. But nothing changed. The night remained silent. The river, calm, as if it had already taken what it wanted. Slowly, very slowly, Nkechi lowered her hands. Her fingers shook. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. And then she looked. At first, her eyes struggled to understand what they were seeing. She crawled weakly toward the edge of the river, her knees scraping against the rough ground, her breath catching with every small movement. The water shimmered faintly under the moonlight, still and quiet, like a mirror waiting to tell the truth. "No!" she whispered, her voice barely there. She leaned closer, closer, and then she saw it clearly. Her reflection. Nkechi screamed. Not loudly, not wildly, but deeply. A broken sound that came from a place inside her she didn't even know existed.
Her face was no longer the face the village admired. The smooth glow was gone. The symmetry she once carried with pride had twisted into something uneven, something harsh. Her skin looked dull, stretched in ways that made her eyes look unfamiliar, even to herself. She stumbled back, shaking her head over and over again. No, no, this is not me. This is not me. But the river did not lie. Tears filled her eyes, spilling freely now, but they brought no comfort. Her hands moved across her face again and again, as if searching for the old version of herself, as if she might find it hidden somewhere beneath what she had become. But it was gone. Completely gone. The same beauty she once believed could never leave her had disappeared in a single moment. And for the first time in her life, Nkechi felt what Ada had felt. Not the laughter, not yet, but the weight, the emptiness, the unbearable silence of knowing you are no longer seen the same way. Her body weakened, her strength gone. She sat there for a long time, staring at the water, as the truth slowly settled into her chest. This was not a mistake. This was not something that would pass. This was the price. By the time Nkechi found the strength to stand, the night was almost gone. A faint light had begun to stretch across the sky. Morning was coming. And with it, the village. Her steps were slow as she began the journey back. Each movement felt heavier than the last. The same path that once felt familiar now felt endless, like it was forcing her to face what waited ahead. Her heart beat faster with every step closer, not with excitement, with fear. Because this time, she knew something she had never understood before. People would look at her, but not the same way. As she reached the edge of the village, the first voices of mourning had already begun to rise. Women sweeping their compounds, men preparing for the day, children waking slowly. Life continuing, normal, unchanged. But Nkechi was not. She stepped into the open, and at first, no one noticed.
Then one person looked up and froze. The broom in her hand dropped to the ground. Another turned, then another. Within seconds, the quiet morning shifted, not into admiration, into silence. Deep, uncomfortable, heavy. Nkechi stopped walking. She didn't need a mirror. She could see it in their eyes. The shock, the confusion, the disbelief. "Is that a..." someone whispered. "It can't be," another replied. But it was. The girl they once admired, the one they once praised, the one who walked like she could never be replaced, was now standing before them as someone they did not recognize. No one laughed. Not yet. This was worse. They stared. And slowly, they stepped back, as if giving her space, as if unsure what she had become. Nkechi's throat tightened. Her lips trembled slightly.
For a moment, she wanted to speak, to explain, to defend herself. But what could she say? That she had gone to the river out of pride? That she had asked for more when she already had enough? That she believed she was above everyone else? The words would not come. Because for the first time, she saw herself clearly. And the truth was too heavy to carry out loud. So she lowered her head and walked past them, through the silence, through the space they created, not as the girl who once owned their attention, but as someone who now understood its absence. Days passed, then weeks. The story spread quickly, not just in her village, but beyond it. People spoke of the girl who challenged the river, the girl who thought she deserved more, the girl who returned changed. But Nkechi no longer argued. She no longer corrected anyone. She no longer even looked into mirrors. Instead, she changed. Not suddenly, not easily, but slowly, quietly. She began to help where she once ignored. She greeted people she once overlooked. She listened when elders spoke, not because she had to, but because she finally understood what their words carried. Pain taught her what pride refused to learn. And though the village never saw her the same way again, something else began to grow. Not in her face, in her heart. A different kind of beauty. One that did not demand attention. One that did not compare. One that did not need to stand above anyone else to feel complete. Thank you for watching till the end. Nkechi learned the hard way that chasing beauty can cost you your peace, your identity, and everything you once had. True beauty comes from within. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and follow for more deep African stories. And be honest, would you have made the same choice if you were Nkechi?